Watch Jefferson climbs the ladder. Oh my goodness! Come
Buenos dias, muchachos. We got a 7-game slate coming up in baseball tonight. Unfortunately for you, you missed the part where we talked about Mariah Mills and Zion Williamson as that saga continues. You know what? Before we even get into the baseball, be perfectly honest with me, because I have never, shocking to everybody, I've never done the OnlyFans thing, not made a video or watched a video on OnlyFans. DC, have you ever done the OnlyFans thing?
No, I've talked about this before. Really doesn't make sense to me. There are other, free channels available on the internet that you don't have to, sign up for, put your credit card in, that kind of thing. So call me old school, but I can,
Well, if you're old school, you like photographs. Boy, I don't know, man. Maybe it's you're the sleeper here. You ever checked out the OnlyFans?
I have not. I'm with DC on the free content. I mean, a lot of those girls you can follow on Instagram, and they put damn near the same stuff up on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
on Twitter,
I'm in the.
Are we like the freeloaders that watch our show and won't sign up for Run Pure Sports?
Yes, we are. In fact, we are freeloaders. In all seriousness, Lisa Ann got so upset about that because I was like, "Oh yeah, I've watched your videos. First of all, it's kind of gross because now I know you. It's disgusting." But all the porn stars are very upset that we watch the free porn, and there's nothing they can do about it. Like, we're just going to watch free porn. Too bad. Deal with it. So yes, Joe A, DC old school Playboy mags under the bed. I don't know how many people are as old as I am, but back when I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, when the JCPenney catalog came out, you'd cut all the pictures out of the girls and the boobs and the panties and stuff, and you had a great time with it. I mean, that was how it started.
I didn't do that, but I was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. I'd steal that one from my dad. And
Would you? Yeah. Just found my dad's old Playboys. What's up, Steve Boynton? Talk to me here. What's happening, pal? Did not expect to start the show like that, but listen, sometimes when you got a 7-game slate and an hour to fill, you might as well bullshit for a minute. Talk to me, Steve. What's happening? We had a nice little day slate. The day A's are playing right now. They're coming back, baby.
Yeah, the early slate was interesting. The daytime A's struck out. I think the first 9 outs for Taj Bradley were all strikeouts. Mm-hmm. He's got 11 Ks and is not eligible for the win. So that's kind of interesting there. The Philly-Arizona series continues to have a ton of runs. I know DC's been all over the Phillies this week. I kind of missed out on Tuesday. That felt bad after being on the actual show. It's been an interesting week of games. I was at Wrigley last night for the Cubs game. We've got way different weather tonight. I'm sure we'll get into that. The temperature is just like in free fall today. So just weird stuff happening here in Chicago. I'm bitter because now it's going to be 50 degrees going into the weekend. It's a long weekend. We got Juneteenth on Monday, which I now get off for a Fed holiday. So I was hoping to be outside more than it looks like I'm going to. So at least we got the U.S. Open going. We got, I'm not sure if you've been watching, we got 2 guys with major records today, 62s. So I'm sure the USGA is just thrilled with that.
I just hit Snyder up in the Discord. Members can do this. You can talk to any of our coordinators. I just hit Snyder up. Like, Snyder, give me who's winning here. Put my bets in, threw a lineup in, Dunsky. I'll worry about golf when it comes to Sunday. Hey, DC, I actually think this is legitimate here. Chris Henderson. I signed up. I'm doing not doing a whole lot better. Where can I go to get my FanDuel lines? Y'all are all about DK. I have everything except for SaberSim and Discord. Well, first of all, Discord might be the most important part of the subscription. And you get it no matter what package, right, guys? Like, if you sign up for us, you get it. Chris, you got to, I'm going to put this back up here. First of all, you got to get in the Discord. Okay. That's the real way you get a chance to talk with our coordinator. Steve is in there all day long. DC's in there. Falix in there. Gary's in there. You think about a coordinator. So if you want to get a chance to pick these guys' brains, you could actually say, hey, I need help with this. What am I doing wrong with my lineup? And they'll help you out with that. The second thing is, did you not use the code Summer33? Because then you get SaberSim when it throws it in there. So if you use Summer33, you should have SaberSim. You also get Discord. But in all seriousness here, DC, like people, if you are a subscriber or you haven't subscribed yet and you're thinking about it, you're available. Like you get questions, both of you and Steve, all the time, right? Just they can ask you and you're there to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a subscriber, get in the Discord. So much good stuff in there. I know not everybody, necessarily has a job that allows them to be in Discord or whatever. But if you do have the chance, get in there. I think you'll find value for sure. And another good reason to sign up, of course, over at Run Pure Sports. In terms of the FanDuel stuff, we do many of us put in FanDuel core plays each and every day. I think it's fair to say, we have more of a focus on DraftKings in general, certainly during the show. I know I play more on DraftKings in general, but I play on FanDuel every night, certainly. Usually it's similar players for me playing somewhere between 3 and 20 lineups per site per night. Usually have kind of similar stacks unless there's a huge pricing discrepancy, which happens from time to time, but not all that often.
Okay. Chris, like I said, info@runpuresports.com. Boynton, I wake up in the morning, I look at the baseball chat because I know we're doing shows later in the day. You're in there like 2 a.m. looking at today's slate. So again, people hit you up all the time, don't they? Let's just say I want to send you my lineup, right? I have a DK lineup. I take a screenshot and I send it to you. You'll give some feedback, right? On how you could tweak it and change it.
Yeah. The majority of the questions are 2v2s, situational questions. Do we like a certain team as a secondary stack, stuff like that. Really specific things that we're not going to get into on this show, but are crucial for the members to complete their lineups. So I think that's the biggest part of the Discord is, getting that last minute information. I know yesterday there was a lot of talk with the Boston game with weather. That's another thing is, after we are off the show, things can change with weather. A guy can get scratched. So I think Discord's the best for asking those last minute questions and reacting to news as it hits.
All right. We got a little bit of extra time for the show today. Maybe we could talk some bets. Very interesting start to the show. We've talked about masturbation and subscriptions. So I think this is right on par. This is the brand here at Run Pure Sports. Summer 33 again. And Chris will take care of you, man. But Summer 33, 33% off. First payment, weekly or monthly plan. Just dip your toe in the water if you haven't already. Stevers is in there. He says he wants to help you out too. So there you go. I got sick. I'm tired of losing, so I signed the next to most expensive sub with you guys. Like I said, Chris, we're going to take care of you. Don't worry about it. You got to put the work in, though. Here's the other thing, and I talk to Big T about this all the time. People sign up, and they're like, all right, I'll just copy the cores, and then I'll look at the playbook real quick, and I'll just win. You got to do a little bit of work on your own, or a little bit more than a little bit of work on your own. It helps. So you got to try a little bit. But it's a great product, and I think everybody watching knows that. Let's give the thumbs up, little like button on this short slate this evening. Again, the early slate. Are they still in the sixth inning here? What's going on with the Rays and the A's? Okay, I'm excited about the A's. This is absolutely amazing what they've been able to do. We got the Phillies and D-backs going on right now too. But let's talk a little bit about this 7-gamer tonight. First off, DC, as we begin, what about the weather here? Steve talked about Chicago. The winds are blowing in. I will remind everybody that it doesn't mean runs aren't going to be scored. I've seen plenty of 6.5, 7 totals at Wrigley with the wind blowing in 20 miles an hour go over. I think the issue here is the home runs. And that's kind of like what we're looking at in DFS. We want those big plays. So talk to me here. What's going on with the weather, DC?
Yeah, you nailed it with Wrigley. One of the better pitching environments that we've seen in Wrigley all year, that we will see certainly in Wrigley all year. I mean, it was colder, obviously, back in April, but 15-mile-per-hour winds blowing in at Wrigley, 55 degrees. you talk about Wrigley win games when the wind's blowing out, how much the ball flies. The opposite's true when it's blowing in, right? It has that same effect when it's blowing in. Just really tough to hit home runs. Most of the players on these teams that are power hitters, I would say maybe outside of Jack Sawinski, who has massive power, are really going to be affected. Their normal home run swings probably not going to get out tonight. So I'm completely crossing off hitters in the Pirates-Cubs game. If you want to be super contrarian and go for it, I think that's okay, but certainly won't be what I'm doing. And then the other big weather game is in Atlanta, where, listen, there's just not very many good offensive spots. It's the shortest slate for one, 7-game slate. Most of the games are half the games on the West Coast, along with Wrigley Field. A lot of good pitchers on the mound, right? There's really relatively low totals. So the Braves have a total creeping towards 6 now. Next highest is the Astros, rather, sitting around 4.6. So Braves kind of lap the field in terms of that department. But we do have rain headed to Atlanta, which does complicate things, of course. We're going to keep an eye on it, and I'm sure it won't be the last time we talk about it during the show. I do think this game will play, potentially with a delay either to start or in the middle of the game, which will affect things too, because I think A.J. Smith-Shawver, the Braves rookie pitcher, is an interesting talking point, given I think you do want savings at pitcher on the slate if you can get them safely, because listen, Ronald Acuna is $6,600, right? But he's, in my opinion, by far the best bat on the slate. So I do think the savings go a decent way. Weather should be fine everywhere else. The Braves game is really the only one that's in any question. I do think it plays, like we said, but we'll update that as the show goes along.
Okay. Steve, any thoughts here? Again, DC just gave us thoughts on the weather. I'm actually from a betting side. I kind of like the over in the Rockies Braves, but I'm a little bit hesitant to bet it because I don't know if this game is going to get through. So it'll probably take me a little while to make my final decision. I know DC will keep his eye on it, but any other thoughts here? What do you want to do with Wrigley? How big of a bump is it to our two pitchers there, including Stroman? What is it? Stroman Oviedo is the pitching matchup tonight. Anything else weather-wise you're seeing?
No, that's pretty much exactly what I was going to say. I do think that they play in Atlanta as well. Agreed with DC on definitely the best spot. It's the warmest spot, the best hitting weather. I mean, this game in Wrigley, it's been colder for games. Like, we've had games at Wrigley this year in the 40s. It's going to be mid to low 50s by the end of the game. We haven't had winds this strong, though. I think they're going to hit almost 20 miles an hour. You can really feel it. I was walking to lunch earlier. It's very gusty as well. So I think that game, the pitchers are going to be just great plays. We'll talk about that later. And then on the West Coast, not as cool as it's been lately. It's in the mid 60s. We've seen it be in the 50s in some places. So not the worst weather in LA and San Diego. We got the wind blowing out in both stadiums.
All right, very good. We will get to FanDuel, so don't worry about that. We don't have the Angels lineup, but I got to think that Drury's out. He got suspended. I don't know if he's going to have an appeal there, so just keep an eye out on that. Cody Bellinger's back. He was activated today. I believe he's batting 6th, guys. And then Buxton's back too, isn't he, tonight? Yep. So Byron Buxton's back. That'll be interesting. I built a lineup. I got some Braves and some Astros, and I got a lot of salary left. So I think it'll be interesting to dive into this pitching now. And DC, let's do it. Like button would be great. Let's just talk about the top 2 guys, and then we'll get into Javier and Cease. Eovaldi versus Ohtani. Now, Ohtani-san, the velocity was down a little bit, and the sweeper is not sweeping as much. Should we be concerned about Ohtani-san coming into tonight against this Rangers offense? And then on the other side, you got Eovaldi, who's been getting his strikeouts, keeping the ball on the ground. I think a 51% ground ball rate. So talk to us here, DC. What about these 2 guys in this game?
Yeah, the 2 best pitchers on the slate, but both in relatively tough matchups, particularly Ohtani. And then, Eovaldi, I mean, he's been really good. I do think there is some regression coming for him. I don't think he is as good of a pitcher as he's shown so far. And he's very expensive. 10.8K for Nathan Eovaldi, at least for me, is a little bit hard of a price tag to stomach. So I'm kind of off of him there. But I think the more interesting point, like you brought up, is with Ohtani, who started off the year on fire as a pitcher. He's still been solid, but has not been quite as sharp over these last couple of weeks. Like you said, velocity has been in decline. There's been some other signs of decreased stuff too, like the pitch models that kind of grade all the pitches in terms of movement, velocity, spin rate. Pretty much all his pitches are slightly on the decline over the last 3 or 4 starts. And then, I don't know, when was it, 2, 3, 4 days ago, they basically said they're going to be monitoring Ohtani's innings, his start numbers. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but essentially the Angels seem like they're aware of this. I'm not sure if Ohtani himself has said, I'm getting tired. Like it's obviously a lot that he's doing, right? Nobody else is able to do this. And I mean, it's hard to say he's not healthy, right? I mean, nobody's hotter in baseball than him with the bat. He's been absolutely on fire. So he's obviously feeling physically fine for the most part, but there's definitely a chance that he has a shorter leash in terms of pitch count in this game or going forward. Certainly a chance that his stuff, isn't quite as sharp as we saw earlier in the season. It's really hard to know with him on the mound. It's been that way his whole career, up and down with the stuff as much as any pitcher. But man, expensive, all those question marks, and a tough matchup against the Rangers is enough for me to probably move away from him today. All that being said, I do think that's the general sentiment that people are going to have with Ohtani. You're going to get him much lower owned, I think, than you normally would. And it wouldn't shock me either whatsoever if he came out and was like, I feel great tonight, and
yeah,
like he's still going to, like, he's not going to go out there and just like give up, right? Like he could absolutely go out there and, oh man, the arm feels good. And if that's the case, he can mow down any lineup. So if I was playing a lot of lineups, I would include him in my pool. Certainly playing 3 tonight. I don't think I'll be getting to any Ohtani myself.
Okay. Steve, talk to me here. Top 2 guys, Eovaldi and Ohtani. Are you rolling with some Ohtani tonight?
Yeah, definitely prefer Ohtani to Eovaldi. Tough to get to Eovaldi with the strikeout rate. He just has to run like so clean, right? Like he has to go deep and it has to be a clean outing. The Angels bats have gotten to Texas in this series a good bit. Ohtani, couple tough starts in a row, like DC mentioned. You had said that he hasn't had the feel for the slider. You can tell when you're watching, like he just can't locate it right now. But that can come back at any moment, right? The underlying metrics are still really good. Lowest xFIP on the slate. Really high ground ball rate, over 50%. I think you mentioned that too, Holden. And the 32% strikeout rate. Like everything lines up. What's really gotten him in trouble is he's given up a ton of bombs. He has a 30% home run to fly ball rate. That's just way high. That's going to come down. When that comes down, I think everything else kind of stays the same, and we're going to see some big time scores come back for Ohtani. It might not be in this spot. The Rangers are up to a first in weighted runs created plus against right-handed pitching on the season. Just an awesome offense. They seem to get after every pitcher that they face every single night. I will say no Josh Young in this lineup. If you pull up the lineup, they've got the back half is a bit weaker than usual. They got Leote hitting 6, Grossman starting, Jankowski and Josh Smith is starting. So a couple guys getting a night off. The back half is weaker than usual. The top 5, kind of like the Braves, doesn't change from day to day. So I do like Ohtani above 10K. I'm going to have him in 20, but he's not going to be on my main team.
All right, so we got through the top 2 here, DC. Let's move on to the only other pitcher that's above 10K. That's 10-2, Christian Javier going up against the Washington Nationals. And then I guess we can roll through the 8 and 7K guys too. Dylan Cease going to LA to face the Dodgers. That's been a really good series. Mackenzie Gore, who's had some hiccups. I really like Houston bats tonight. DC, maybe you could talk me off of it. And then Oviedo going up against Stroman. We got to talk about Stroman too. Stroman and Sonny Gray. So how about the 10-2 through 7.2K range on DK?
Yeah, Javier's been like the strikeouts. I just haven't been there for him. 5 starts in a row now. He hasn't had more than 5 strikeouts in any of them, despite a couple of really good matchups. Faced Oakland in there, only got 3 strikeouts. Only got 5 against Milwaukee, 5 against the Cubs. Has pitched relatively well in those starts despite the lack of strikeouts. And maybe they come back here, but Nationals aren't really a team that strikes out all that much to begin with anyway. So kind of hard to project Javier for a huge amount of strikeouts here. And, I think he's kind of living dangerously if he's not going to strike out guys. Like that's kind of his bread and butter, or at least it has been in the past. And I do think like the home run balls could be coming for him if he's not able to up that strikeout rate. So he's not a terrible play tonight by any means, but I'm not going to get to Javier at 10.2K. I definitely prefer the next 2 guys on the list. I know Steve, I think, is on the same guy, Sonny Gray and Marcus Stroman. Gray hasn't been quite as sharp. He started off April just absolutely on fire. It's kind of cooled off since, but it has been a pretty tough run of matchups for him in Toronto, in Houston, in LA. 3 of the last 5 starts, the other 2 against Cleveland and San Francisco, both teams with a majority of left-handed bats in the lineup. So 5 starts in a row, I think, kind of didn't favor matchup-wise Sonny Gray. He gets one here that does, for the most part. This Tigers lineup, one of the worst in baseball, especially after losing Riley Green. They've got, Mickey Cabrera in there. They've got, I think, 6 right-handed bats, which is pretty nice for Sonny Gray. Pretty good pitching weather. It's, mid-70s, but wind blowing in at Target Field. So I do think good chance we see kind of a return to form for Sonny Gray here against this Tigers team. I think you can make a case for him as number 1, even regardless of salary. I wouldn't really argue too much. I think it's pretty close. And then same thing for Marcus Stroman. I've kind of missed out on the Marcus Stroman train this year. Haven't really been on board. He's never been much of a strikeout guy. That's mostly still been true this year, a season high of 8 on the year 3 starts ago, but he's limited the damage almost every time out. It's been impressive what he's been able to do. And we talked about the pitching weather in Chicago. Home run ball is not going to be a problem for him. He generally throws strikes. Pretty good matchup against the Pirates. And you get a nice discount from guys like Ohtani and Eovaldi with Marcus Stroman sitting there at 8,700. So, yeah, I think this kind of upper mid-tier range, Gray and Stroman, looks pretty solid to me. I do think that's going to be the most popular combination. I'm seeing Javier, Ohtani, Eovaldi all with decent ownership too. I think it'll be somewhat spread out among the top 5 here, but I personally think it's going to be Gray and Stroman that carry the day in ownership. But I think that's right tonight. I do think those are the 2 best options.
All right. So, Steve, I'm actually looking at your core plays. I'm not going to give away the whole core, but DC was just talking about a Gray Stroman pairing. So it seems as though this is the way you like to go. Can you talk about both those first and then roll down from Javier 10-2 on down to Oviedo?
Yeah, echo kind of the same things on Javier. He's a guy that I've used probably too much this year. The strikeout rate has come down a bit. He's still giving up just a ton of fly balls. I think his ground ball rate is still under 30%. So, it's a dangerous way to live when you aren't missing as many bats. I do think that he'll bounce back. Like, I don't think that he's, just not the same anymore. But going up against this Nats lineup that just doesn't strike out, he's above 10K here. Obviously, good win equity. The lineup that the Nats put out doesn't have Meneses in it. It's got Corey Dickerson hitting cleanup in 2023. Stone Garrett's in there against a righty. So the Nats lineup is better than usual as far as, for using Javier. But he was the last guy that I X out of my pool. I do like Sonny Gray a ton here. I think he's just an elite play. Home start against the Tigers, wind blowing in on the season. Tigers, 8th highest strikeout rate, 28th ISO, just absolutely no pop. Over the last 2 weeks, 2nd highest strikeout rate in the split. And at home at Target Field this year, 42 innings, 1.7 ERA, 50 strikeouts. So I think Gray, despite the last couple starts not being his best of the year, I think this is a great bounce back spot. I wouldn't worry about the pitch counts. Like in that last Toronto start, he got in trouble in the 5th, got out of it, and they just went to the bullpen after that. I don't think that there's any risk of them like monitoring his pitch counts or anything. And then Stroman, I've played him in the Wrigley spots this year. He's just been really consistent, really good. The strikeout rate obviously isn't there. It's around 20%, but he's just going deep into games. Reliable. The ground ball rate is over 60% this year. It's like pushing Framber levels. So when he does give up base runners, he can get out of innings quickly, which helps him go deep. 20-mile-an-hour winds blowing in. This is just the nut pitching spot. I love the pairing of Gray and Stroman. That's my preferred pairing with Ohtani, the other guy in my pool above 8K.
All right, very good. So then we can go dumpster diving if we want to. Logan Allen, Matt Boyd. I'm looking at Grove. I mean, she hadn't been great. Kyle Freeland. We have a lot of discussions about Kyle Freeland here, and I've always been a Kyle Freeland guy. He's one of the only guys that knows how to pitch at Coors Field, right? DC. He's from here. He pitches well here. Well, tonight he's going up against the Atlanta Braves, and he's a lefty. So I don't want to mess with that too much. Do you want a dumpster dive tonight? I personally don't even think we need to. I think you have enough salary out there this evening. But what do you want to do?
Not with Kyle Freeland, but maybe he'll own my soul again tonight. I'm definitely playing the Braves. And Big T always likes to make fun of me for trying to stack against Kyle Freeland. Well, we're trying again tonight, so maybe I'll get some of that money back that Freeland's stolen from me over the years. Usually, frankly, at Coors Field. So I don't know. Maybe he's like a true Cy Freeland on the road. We'll see. I kind of doubt it. The guy that I'm considering that's cheap tonight is AJ Smith-Shawver. Atlanta Braves rookie pitcher. I think he's 20 or 21 years old. Really young guy. I think he started the year in A-ball, the Braves liked what they saw so much they quickly moved him up to AA to AAA, called him up to the big leagues. Our manager has compared him in some aspects to Spencer Strider, hopefully the good version of Strider, not the one we've seen in the last couple starts. His stuff doesn't really look like Strider's stuff to me. I mean, he doesn't throw nearly as hard. So I don't know about that comparison, but the Braves do have a very, very strong recent history of the guys that they kind of call up from the minors, both pitchers and hitters, performing well for them. The fact that they fast-tracked him to the big leagues. I trust this organization to know what they're doing with pitchers, maybe more so than my own data analysis on, 7 2/3 innings that we've seen from Shawver at the big league level so far. He's been okay in those innings. Strikeouts and whiffs really haven't been there, but he did get up to 86 pitches in his last start, which means he should be basically a full go 90-plus pitches in this one. The matchup is really good, I think, against this Rockies team on the road. And so, yeah, I think Shawver at 5,500 looks like a really strong value play to me. You don't need to do it, Holden. You can certainly make a reasonable lineup without dumpster diving and playing Gray and Stroman. But, if you want Acuna, Albies, Riley, Sean Murphy, that top 4 of the Braves, which I think is by far the best stack tonight, it's hard to get it with paying up for pitching. So I do have interest in Shawver. Big question for me is the weather. Storms coming into Atlanta. I'm not sure exactly when they're going to arrive. This game scheduled to start, an hour and 20 minutes from now, hour and 15 minutes from now. So we'll have to make a call. But, it's not as risky when you're going to a cheap pitcher, right? Because even if he had 3 good innings, and put up, I don't know, even 10 fantasy points could be enough if you need the big bats to win. So, yeah, I'm in on Smith-Shawver pending watching the weather. It's going to be one of those things that we'll be watching till the very lock for this Braves game. I mean, even the hitting is not completely safe, I don't think, right now, but especially the pitching. That's the big concern, right? If they start, storm comes 2 innings into the game, and then it's pretty rare, especially for a young arm, to come out after an hour of rain. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then just from what I'm seeing, the rain doesn't seem like it's going to be a torrential downpour or anything.
No,
but
it seems like it's going to rain hard for like 30 or 45 minutes, and then it'll clear. But that would probably be long enough, once you get the tarp back off and you got to warm back up to knock Shaver out of the game. I'm seeing the OMG father. If they delay the start, then I think we're good with Shaver, because then they're just going to wait for the rain to pass, and then the game should be good to go after that. So, yeah, we don't know yet, but it is something we're going to have to watch.
Maybe I should start getting my old buddy. He's he's in Pennsylvania now, but he's a real meteorologist. It's absolutely amazing. We can get him on, and then we'd have to pay him. So screw it. I'm just thinking out loud. So Boynton, and it's interesting too, and we'll get to this on the offensive side of things. But the Braves they used 7 relievers yesterday in the doubleheader. And then they used like 5 guys in the 2 of the last 3 days leading up to it. So they need some innings from Smith-Shawver tonight, don't they? So,
yep.
Do you want to go there?
Yeah, I'm going to use Smith-Shawver if the game starts in a delay, because then I think we can get the clean start, or at least the better chance at the clean start. I used him in his starting debut last week against the Nats. Battled through a couple errors and walks. I thought he looked all right. He's so cheap. He's 5,500 at home as like a minus probably 2+ favorite. I'd play a lot of pitchers at 5,500 at home against the Rockies. I believe in the arm talent. Got up to 86 pitches, which was encouraging after like the relief outing before. So yeah, I like him a lot here. The other guys I have under 8K, Oviedo, the Pittsburgh starter in Wrigley. His issue has been walks. I think he's got over 4 per 9. But over his last 6 starts, he's been pitching really well. 2.6 ERA, almost a strikeout per inning. Back-to-back starts over 6 innings. So like he's the guy in the mid-range that I think might get lost a bit on the slate. I don't mind just playing both pitchers from the Wrigley game either. I think the total's down to 7 with juice on the under. It might go down to 6.5. The only way this game goes over is if you get like a bunch of singles.
I seen it, dude. I seen it with my own eyes plenty of times.
Of course, it happens every now and then, but for the most part, there's a reason why they have the total at 6.5 and the wins.
They're gonna kill you with doubles and singles and stolen bases.
I feel like holding those games, those are usually like in April when it's really cold and like the fielders can't move or throw, and you just like, I don't know, like today's weather. I don't like, it's not going to hinder the pitchers at all, right? Is the thing. Like it's warm enough where they can like still feel the baseball. So yeah, of course it could happen, but I would be surprised if there's a lot of scoring in that game.
Yeah. It's 6.5, Steve, at SI Sportsbook. I didn't even know Sports Illustrated had a sportsbook, but everywhere else it's 7, just so you know. And then AP, you pipe down AP. I gave out Boynton's 2 starting pitchers. That's fine. He's got the rest of his core right there. He's got a whole playbook. That's what you get when you sign up for RPS with the code SUMMER33, 33% off your first payment of a weekly or a monthly plan. If you want the rest of Steve Boynton's core, go ahead and do it. Love you, AP.
Yeah. And then
anyways, did you have any other things to say?
Yeah, the last cheap guy I have is Matt Boyd for Detroit. He's super cheap at 5.8. He's a league average guy. He's been pretty unlucky so far. Only a 55% left on base rate. League average is like 75%, which has inflated his ERA a bit. Minnesota hasn't been great against lefties, and they strike out a ton. 5th highest strikeout rate. They get Correa back, they get Buxton back. He's been, I think, on the season against lefties, he's 2 for 24 with like 14 Ks or something like that. It's good pitching weather, like we mentioned with Sonny Gray talk. sub 6K with the strikeout prop at 5.5. I have definite interest. Plus, you're going right in the face of what I think is bad chalk Twins bats. So I love Boyd for tournaments. He's just way, way too cheap. You can pair him with, Gray or Stroman or Ohtani and get all the bats you want.
Okay, so we got through that. We did have maybe the comment of the year. Let me go find this real quick. Where's the bald dude? Does he live in Georgia? And you are referencing JT Hayes. I don't think you'd say that to his face, Pojed Stoner. It's all I'm going to say. He's a very strong individual. And given that you're stoned all the time, your reflexes are not very good, probably. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that. And he's usually at those games. He'll be back soon. What's so funny, DC? Come on.
JT, it's just a funny comment. I was enjoying your humor. Yeah,
he is the bald guy. Real quick, FanDuel. Who's your guy on FanDuel? DC?
I got Sonny Gray there, but it's if you do want to play Ohtani or Eovaldi even, I think that's the site to do it on because the price discrepancy isn't quite as high.
Shout out to Gavitz in the chat. Yeah, Boynton, what are you doing on FanDuel tonight? Who's your pitcher? Your SP1. You're only
SP1. I
SP1.
was going to say I'm going Ohtani over on FanDuel just because the other guys are priced so much closer to him. On DK, you've got basically 2K difference. On FanDuel, it's only a couple hundred. So I would just go for the strikeout upside with Ohtani for a couple extra $100.
Okay, very good. Let's keep rolling here. Again, Summer 33. That's the promo code. Like button would be awesome. We would really appreciate it if you hit the like button. And it's not just baseball that we're talking about still. Yeah, NBA is done. We got the golf. And I was talking about AP, Uncle T, Big T, the whole crew over there, the golf guys, killing it. Snyder, Schneider, all those guys. NHL is done. We still got MMA. We got NASCAR going on. JJ is one of the best out there, NASCAR, DFS. He just doesn't brag about it enough. So lots of sports still going on. Great time to chime in right now. Summer 33. We get to the offensive side of things. We'll go game by game, obviously. I don't want to mess with the Detroit offense against Sonny Gray tonight, but go look at Minnesota. Carlos Correa is finally arisen. What's going on with Correa? What do we want to do with the Twins tonight, DC? Because this dude has been going absolutely bananas. Let me go look at this game log again. 16-18, 16-20, 17. I mean, he finally found his stroke.
About time. Took him a long time to get going. It did for Carlos Correa, but we know he's a good hitter. He has been for many years, and yeah, could be a start of a hot streak. He certainly needs one to get back to kind of his career numbers. So, yeah, I mean, you see that. There's another player we'll talk about on the Astros who has kind of picked it up after a horrible, horrible start to the season. I would throw Correa in that group. They also get Byron Buxton back from injury today, like you mentioned earlier. He's an interesting play. No discount for him on DraftKings, certainly sitting at 5K, but I think he's an interesting play. He goes through hot and cold stretches. I think personally it's impossible to know what he's going to look like coming off the IL, but either way, it wouldn't surprise me. So I think he's interesting. Royce Lewis, Michael A. Taylor, I think is an okay cheap option at 2,200. He's a man center field. So Ryan Jeffers down there is fine as well. So yeah, I think the Twins are okay. I do kind of agree with Steve that maybe a little bit overhyped today. I just don't really trust this offense right now. And Matthew Boyd, not that bad. Wind blowing in. I don't mind the Twins, but I would prefer to go other places. Not going to any of the Tigers tonight.
1v1, and the salary's kind of close. Arcia or Correa? What do you think?
I'll go Arcia. He's been
How about you, Boynton? Arcia?
Braves. Anyone on the Braves.
All right, anyone on the Braves. So what are you doing with game one here, Steve?
Yeah, so this is my big fade spot. I think the Twins come in super, super popular on the slate, especially the cheap ones. They just fit lineups really well. So what I'll say is when you play the Twins, you have to know that a lot of their guys are platoon bats. They've got 5 backups in the lineup tonight. Donovan Solano's a backup. Kyle Farmer, Michael A. Taylor, Jeffers, and Castro. are all huge pinch hit risks. I think Solano comes in 30% plus owned on this slate.
He's going to rough slider your ass, Steve.
Yeah, he will. It's just a horrible play. He's stone min 2K, going to be super popular. I just think that these guys are easy fades. Like, I'm going to fade the spot every single time. And if he hits a bomb in his 2 at bats, then so be it. I think they're a great fade. I don't mind playing the guys that are mainstays. You play Correa. Kirilloff is starting against the lefty. I think he's fine. Royce Lewis in the 6 hole, I think, is safe as well. But yeah, I mean, the Twins are one of those teams with the Giants, with Milwaukee, that just pinch hit like crazy. So playing them when they're super popular, I think, is just the wrong way to go about it. I get the play, right? There's a reason why they're going to be popular. They're facing a guy who people like to pick on, and they're super cheap. But yeah, that's going to be my big stand of the slate, is not playing any Twins.
Okay. Game number 2 then. It's time. Hit the like button if you get a chance. Good mojo. Hopefully you lost again last night if you didn't hit the like button. It's as simple as that. Colorado, Atlanta, here we go. I mean, we've talked about the weather ad nauseum. DC, it's Smith-Shawver against Kyle Freeland. We love the Braves. We love the Braves against left-handers, so why not? I know Kyle Freeland's burned you in the past. I love Kyle Freeland. I do not love Kyle Freeland tonight. As far as Smith-Shawver goes, 20-year-old kid, these Rockies have been hitting on the road, DC. So before we get into the DFS breakdown, I'm going to ask you guys both this. Total's 9.5. Over or under? And I'm an under better.
Braves will go over it by themselves. So there you go.
Boynton?
I would bet the over.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do then. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, go for it, DC. It's the Rocks visiting the Braves.
I do like the over from the standpoint, too, of both these pitchers could potentially be knocked out early from the rain delay, and then you get into the bullpen. So, yeah. Not playing any Rockies here. I do like Smith-Shawver. We'll do one more weather update before we sign off. Right now, though, I think they're going to try to start this game. I think they will start this game on time and just kind of live with whatever comes. It doesn't really look like a prolonged storm. Again, still could be enough to knock out Shawver, maybe both pitchers. But I'm not worried about the bats here. I hope some people are. I'm going to the Braves. You can play 1 through 9 here. Kevin Pillar, really the only guy I would worry about pinch at risk. I would assume Eddie Rosario comes in for him in a straight swap at some point. But I think everybody else in the starting lineup likely finishes this game or very close to it anyway. And there's really no bad plays here. Ozzie Albies, I talk about it all the time, has, in my opinion, the biggest true splits gap, where he is just a monster against lefties, and he's okay against righties, but he's like one of the best hitters in baseball when you put him up against the left-handed pitcher. I love him up to the 2 hole. You guys know about Acuna. I mean, dude, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, Riley, Murphy. I love that top 4. Michael Harris, I never gave up on him. I know a lot of people did. Unfortunately, he did all this damn damage when the Braves weren't on the slate. They showdown 20 minutes.
He did.
Going like 4-for-4 with like 2 steals and a dong all this series when I can't even play the man. So that's a little tilting.
So annoying.
I do think the return of Michael Harris has started. I don't love him lefty on lefty, but he's so hot right now. He might only face Freeland one time anyway, getting out of the 9 hole. So I'll be riding the Harris train for a while. Pretty much love this whole lineup. I think they do a lot of damage to Freeland and, frankly, through the rest of this home series as well. Rockies bullpen going to be pretty worn out, I think, by the time Sunday comes around. So I'll be riding the Braves, I think, these next few days for sure.
Steve Boynton, how are we building the Braves here? You want any Rockies bats? No one's going to be on the Rockies tonight.
Yeah, so I'll start with the Rockies side, and I'll come back to the Braves. I do have some interest in Rockies in the non-Smith-Shawver teams. I'm definitely playing some Smith-Shawver, but I like especially – let me pull up their lineup. especially the lefties, McMahon and Nolan Jones, like a 2 or 3 man mini. Nolan Jones has got crazy power. He's still pretty cheap. I think he's still 3,800 on DraftKings. So still affordable. I know McMahon's under 5K there. So yeah, I'm using Rockies as a secondary stack in non-Smith-Shawver lineups. It's good hitting weather. I have faith that Smith-Shawver will pitch well, but I don't think it's any sort of certainty. So, it's a small slate. I don't mind grabbing some Rockies. The Braves, I think clearly my favorite. Debating playing them on every team. That's how good of a spot I think it is. With Harris now hitting, the lineup's just so dangerous. Freeland actually has been really bad against lefties too. So I actually want to play Harris in my Braves stacks. I'm bumping up his projection by a lot. He's been hitting lefties really well lately too. So the wraparound stack looks really nice for the Braves. I'll be stacking them every which way. They're clearly my favorite on the slate. They'll be popular. I will say I wouldn't, if you want to play Twins, don't play the expensive Braves with the cheap Twins because you're just going to be holding hands. Was basically my impetus for fading the Twins anyways. I think there are other cheap bats that I like more on the slate. So,
okay. Steve, you know what the term bricked up refers to?
No, let me Google it.
That's what I
hold on. What is it? Bricked up?
Bo Jenkins, DC bricked up right now.
It means you're either strong or you have an erection.
Yeah. Apparently erection, which makes sense. We're talking about the Braves, and he's right. He's right. I do.
So
I did go
right.
6 to midnight when we started talking about the Braves.
We talked about the Braves and Michael Harris having 40 bombs off the slate after we pulled it.
But I definitely had to Google it. I didn't know what that meant.
I did too.
Steve Braves. Olsen. Yeah, that's right. Throw Albies up top. Like button would be great. I don't know where we are. Honestly, don't care. Would just love for you to go through it and bring the good mojo to yourself. Because again, I have not heard anybody that won that refused to hit the like button. I'm just saying, it's the fact of life. So our next game is one I bet, and one that I am not going to play in DFS. Angels, Rangers. But DC, you know what? Let me go to Boynton here because Boynton finally realized that the Rangers money line bet has been a cash cow and it's never too late to get in there. And DC's upset about that, so he just bolted. He's all bricked up and he's got to relieve himself. So, anyways, Boynton, the Texas bats, they kill everybody. What is their ownership against Ohtani-san? Because we really these bets at like sub 10% up and down the order would be great. Seager's gonna have a nice night. And then on the other side, you got the Angels going against the Evaldi. There's no Drury in there. Any bats from this game for you?
I'm not personally playing bats. I like other spots better. I would be power hunting against Ohtani. What I talked about at the start of the show, his bugaboo, has been giving up bombs. And this Rangers team hits a lot of them, especially the top half of the order. So, that's what I'll be doing here, but personally myself, I'm not playing any bats here.
Can I read a member? Yeah, I'm going to read this is in our Discord. Okay. I'm going to bring a members saying something out into the atmosphere. So here's what it says. And this applies to all you freeloaders too. If you want to speed run getting blocked by DC on Twitter, at him with a picture of your best ball roster and say something like, "This start feels rare, IDK." Is that accurate, DC?
That is absolutely accurate.
Okay.
I don't think I can actually block anyone for that, but hey, if you want to try, maybe you'll be the first. So,
what about baseball best ball? If someone sends it to you, baseball best ball, you're still upset about that or no?
Well, any and all baseball tweets are welcome.
Okay.
There's not nobody's talking about baseball best ball, so you can bring those to me. It's just the oversaturation of the best ball screenshots that gets to me, and I just like to bitch on Twitter. So
yeah, I'll be completely honest with you about the best. It's fucking busy work for football people, and I'm a football guy. I love football, but it's busy work for most people. JSU, Megan, Rubio, all of them do a great job with it. But for me, and I do best ball, I do it for busy work just to keep up with what's going on in the offseason.
I think that's part of it. I think part of the reason it's so popular and part of the reason people love to tweet about it is because you don't get to decide if you were right or wrong until 6 months from now. So you can tweet your roster, be like, I got the winner. And there's no one, if you're wrong or whatever, no one can quote tweet you tonight. If you did it for DFS, you're like, I got the winner. It's like, nope, that didn't work. Yeah, and so everybody can win. You can
oh my Godfather, you're right, dude. DFS ruined me too. I can't sweat shit. I was just talking to my buddy. We started a fantasy league in 2005. Right, it's the only season-long fantasy league. It's a dynasty league. It's the only one I can do. I need immediate satisfaction. I need DFS. I need betting, and it's as simple as that. Anyways, DC, we were talking. Hold on a second. He wanted this again. What type of hair product do you use so I don't become the bald guy? I don't. It's genetics, dude. I was not blessed with very many things. A head of hair is what it is. I use shampoo, once a month, and that's about it. DC,
once a month?
Yeah, maybe once every 6 months. DC, Angels, Rangers. What do you got?
Not a ton here. I think, you can't use Ohtani as a hitter on Daisy's pitching still. I won't rant about that. Enough DC rants today. That pretty much eliminates any of the Angels that I would have wanted to play against Eovaldi. I'm not doing it, but I do think a Rangers stack is at least interesting. I mean, they have been the best offense in baseball against righties on the year. Nobody's going to play them. And we don't really know what to expect from Shohei Ohtani. We talked about it at length, but his stuff's been in decline. There's obviously some team individual concern about how he's going to be going forward. And I think it's at least possible that, just something's not right with him as a pitcher, and we kind of see it rear its ugly head, maybe super wild, something like that. Not the craziest thing, I don't think, to stack the Rangers against Ohtani tonight.
Good thing this isn't a 14 slate game.
If I'm playing any Rangers, though, so a full-on 5-man stack and hoping Ohtani doesn't have it.
Okay. Good thing this isn't a 14-game slate because we're taking our time going through this. Hopefully everybody enjoys that. Pepe Silva, come on down here and find out, my pal. That's all I'll tell you. Let's move on to the Pirates and the Cubs. T. Boynton. Hold on, you're not going to the game tonight? Or you are going to the game tonight?
No, I was there last night. It was a fun game. Lots of scoring. Big comeback.
I know. You actually had a really cool picture. You were sitting up there in the, what is that, the loge section?
Yeah, the second level that's overlooks. It's a good spot.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm going to go right back to you again with this. Is there any DC Boynton? Is there anybody that steals a lot of bases in this game that can get on and steal me 2 bases tonight? Because I think that's the way to go if you're going to one-off somebody from here.
I'm not playing any bats in this game.
Okay.
I'm playing both pitchers a good amount.
Okay. DC?
We're talking Rangers Angels still?
No, we got done with that a couple minutes ago, pal. The micro penis and hair conversation must have thrown you off. We're talking about the Cubs and the Pirates.
Oh, no, not playing
Okay.
bats here.
That's a pass. Like button to be wonderful. Summer 33% off. The initial payment of a weekly or monthly plan. Just because NBA's over doesn't mean there's not a lot to do. Everybody's sweating the golf right now. The golf, NFL, 80-something days away. It's going to be great. Here's my favorite offense tonight, boys. DC. I love Houston going up against Mackenzie Gore. And I know that Houston's let a lot of people down a lot of times this season, but Mackenzie Gore has kind of gone backwards. I think this guy is terrific, but he's kind of hit the skids. 8 runs, 13 hits, last 11 innings. And I just don't really see – here's the problem. You don't see as many home runs, but what do you think about the Houston offense tonight?
I like them quite a bit. Second favorite offense here. Mackenzie Gore's got a lot of talent. I've played him some this year. I'll play him, I think, some going forward. Can definitely miss bats. Strikeout upside, I still think is somewhat high tonight. I don't think he's the craziest play in the world. But again, I do like Houston. I always prefer playing Houston at home. Guys like Altuve, Bregman in particular, have perfected the use of that Crawford boxes, the short portion left field. They hit more home runs at home than they do on the road every year. And against the lefty, I think Bregman and Altuve look good. But frankly, most of like the cheap guys, the scrubs, if you want to say, in this Houston team, they all are way, way better against lefties. McCormick, Julks, Myers, even Maldonado, if you need a cheap catcher, Pena. Like, these guys really crush lefties. Can't do much against righties. Some of these guys are pinch hit risks for sure. But, yeah, I think they're all good, cheap options tonight to take Mackenzie Gore deep. And then Jose Abreu. Put him in the Carlos Correa bucket of horrible first couple months of the season, but really red hot the last week or two. Seemed like it was a matter of time for both these guys. And Abreu is up to 4 home runs after having 0 for the first 2 months and a week of the season. Looks like he's back to his normal self. Hit a rocket yesterday. Think he's a good guy to jump on right now. Seems like he's coming out of it. So I do like this Houston team quite a lot. Frankly, 1 through 9, I think are all pretty decent plays tonight.
All right, what do you got here, Steve? Houston, Washington?
Yeah, I think Houston's all right. They have the highest total on the highest team total on the slate, I believe. I don't love the lineup here. I was hoping Dubon would play. He's been absolutely smashing lefties at that leadoff spot. They got Chas McCormick leading off today. Gore his strikeout rate is high against righties, but profile isn't the best. I think he's going to give up power, especially in that park with the Crawford boxes there in left field. Kyle Tucker, the only lefty in the lineup, and he's been, after a slow start to the year against lefties, has really turned it on, crushing them over the last month. I think 222 weighted runs created plus. So if you're stacking up Houston, make sure to put the lefty Kyle Tucker in there. He will come in lower on than he should. People just don't click lefty matchups. Plus, like DC always mentions, the Nats have no lefties in the pen. So after, if you're full stacking them, Gore leaves early, you get the full bad Nats pen against Kyle Tucker. So he's definitely my favorite play. He's the most expensive, but I just love these lefty spots on smaller slates with the popular stacks because they always come in lower than they should, I think.
Abreu is finally earning a paycheck, which is nice to see from them. I don't know who's the better play. I mean, I can't give out Corey Seager as my play tonight because I'm only playing one lineup and he's not in there. I think it's going to have to be Abreu. Let's move on to our next game. Boynton, I mean, if you got a second, check to see where we are with the likes, and that would be great. If we get 100 and I'm probably 150, I don't know what we're going to do. I'm sure we'll do something fun for you, though. That'll be great. Cleveland, San Diego's our next one. Logan Allen. We got Weathers going out there, a lefty, couple lefties on the mound this evening. DC, do we want to pick a couple of guys on the Padres that can smash lefties?
The Padres are heating up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seemed like a matter of time for them. Juan Soto came around kind of in, I think, middle of May. Tatis is up to 14 home runs after missing a good portion of the first part of the season. Still kind of waiting on Manny Machado, but Bogart's picking it up. So, yeah, this team, listen, when they got Soto, people were talking about this offense as like a super team type offense. Really hasn't performed like it so far, but did seem like a matter of time as long as they could stay healthy, which they are right now. So, yeah, I think the Padres offense looks pretty good. I think you can play most of these guys as one-offs as well. I don't think they're going to be all that popular tonight. Logan Allen, I do like him as a pitcher, which does temper my Padres expectations to some degree. But, I still like the Padres offense. I would stick to the main guys, though, probably not venturing down into the Austin Nola, Trent Grisham, and unfortunately – No Sanchez, no Gary Sanchez tonight. Would have been a good spot for him, but I still do like the Padres to some degree. No Cleveland Guardians for me. We need to this noodle bad offense, man. They just have no power and never do anything. I'm not going to go there tonight.
Okay, Boynton, Cleveland, San Diego, a whale's vagina.
I like both sides of this game. I haven't played almost any Cleveland. Ryan Weathers, I think you can make an argument, is the worst pitcher on the slate. Gives up a ton of power, over 2 bombs per 9. I don't usually stack Cleveland. I'm going to use them as secondary stacks, like a 3-man. I do like the game stack here. Logan Allen, a pitcher, just like DC said, that I believe in long term. Kind of been going through it a bit. The league has seen him a couple times, and I think that's getting to him a bit. He has a whip of almost 1.5 over the last month. The Padres, like you said, are heating up with Machado back from the injury. He's been red hot. So yeah, I like the Padres here. I like the Guardians. The back half of the Guardians lineup is super cheap. So I'm using what I was talking about earlier with the Twins. I like the cheap guys from this game on both sides more than those Twins guys who are going to get pinch hit for at pretty high ownership. So give me the cheap Guardians. Give me the cheap Padres as secondary stacks with the Braves. And then I will mention Jose Ramirez. If you look at his price on DC, when was the last time we had Jose Ramirez at 4,500? Years, maybe. So I think he's an awesome play. Weathers just gives up so much power. Yeah, I love this game. I bet the over. I hope we see a bunch of runs late here.
Okay. We got one game left, and then we're done ski. We've got the White Sox and the Doyers. Again, it's been an exciting series so far, and the White Sox pulled away late last night. Cease and Grove. Grove's had some growing pains, hasn't he, DC? Dylan Cease tonight. We'll see what holds for him. But as far as Grove goes, it's a little disappointed. It's 4.47 xERA and 74 innings pitch. So the walk rate's up. The K rate's down just a little bit. Any White Sox bets here? Maybe a little Jake Berger action, one off?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have the lineup yet. We'll see if Jake Berger's in there. Hit 2 home runs. He hit 2 home runs yesterday. I think he did.
Yeah, we got a lineup. We just did. He's hitting 5th.
Yeah,
literally just came out.
I don't mind it. I haven't been impressed with Michael Grove. I just don't like this White Sox lineup much. They did get to Kershaw last night, unfortunately, a little bit. Not a ton. I think 2 runs, but yeah, I'm just not going to the White Sox here. I never play the White Sox, and really hasn't burned me. I'm hoping it'll be the same tonight. I do think the Dodgers are interesting. I think people still are hesitant to stack against Dylan Cease. Haven't gotten everything right this year, certainly, but fading Dylan Cease all year long has been a profitable strategy. He's almost always chalk. He won't be tonight, I don't think. Finally down to 8,200, a price tag that I think is more suitable to his skill set. But he's a pitcher you do want to stack against. You can run on him. He can give up power. He's super wild, which is his biggest problem. And the Dodgers, one of the better offenses in baseball. So, yeah, Dodgers are my 3rd favorite stack behind the Braves and the Astros.
Boyden, what do you got for the nightcap? You've been liking the Dodgers the last couple of nights. You want to go back?
Yeah, of course. Can't quit on the Dodgers now. They've been scoring the last 2 nights. They just haven't had that huge breakout game. I think it's coming. I do like this spot against Cease, especially the lefties, like it has been all series. Freeman, Hayward, Peralta, that 2-4-5, super cheap in the outfield there. Hayward and Peralta. Muncy is still out, but that means that we get Chris Taylor, who's cheap with multi-positional eligibility on DK. Vargas is back in the lineup after a night off last night. Yeah, I'm going back to the Dodgers here. I don't mind the White Sox. I don't ever play them. And the Dodgers pen is good behind Grove. So that's what ultimately got me off of them. I'm trying to narrow down my pool as much as I can, not add teams late. So not playing Grove or Cease. I do like the Dodgers bats, and I'll be stacking them up.
All right, very good. We got through it. For those of you that are subscribers, if you want to check out what K Fallick's doing, he just did a major pivot for Fallick tonight. DC, any pricing discrepancies? Somebody you like more on FanDuel than DK? Any FanDuel talk tonight, or is it all the same?
Not a ton. The biggest one would be Ohtani is relatively cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings. If you want to use him as a pitcher, I still kind of don't want to go there, but everything else is pretty similar. I did want to update people on the Braves weather. I feel very confident at this point that they're going to start the game on time, and more confident that there's potential that this game just doesn't even have a delay at all. Or if it does, it'll be short. So no really worry at all for me with the bats. and I feel good enough about the weather to use AJ Smith-Shawver on my main team on DraftKings.
Okay, very good. Boynton, anything FanDuel wise?
Nothing that stood out to me when I was doing the playbook today, as far as like a huge price discrepancy. Michael Harris still too cheap. He's 2,500 there. Just so many cheap outfielders on FD that you can play Ohtani pretty comfortably. Just scrolling through here, I don't really see much as far as discrepancies for bats.
Who is Big Hurt? Because the last time I checked, he's been retired for about 20 years. How stoned are you, Poja and Stoner? Tell me, who's now the Big Hurt? Who's the new Big Hurt?
There's only one Big Hurt. I have no idea.
Big Hurt's been pumping those Nugenics. Maybe he's making a return to the lineup.
Dude, Big Hurt is so bitter that he's not on. Do you go down there to the south side very often? He is so bitter he's not on the statue where Jeff Blum hit the walk-off home run. To this day, he's angry. To this day.
Went on Saturday. Watched the Marlins game.
God, you go to a lot of baseball. Yeah. If I was drunk a lot, I'd go too.
All
right, buddy.
Teams are bad.
Let's get to the play of the day here. DC, who are you going with?
I say Jose Abreu.
God damn it.
His red hot streak and takes McKenzie Goryard
total
tonight.
Fucking bullshit because I already took it. Yeah, what's up, Boynton? Who's your play?
I'm going to go with the guy that I mentioned earlier as being way too cheap. Cheapest we've seen him in a long, long time. And he's red hot. 4 bombs over his last 10 games. Facing the most home run prone pitcher on the slate. I'll go with Jose Ramirez, a guy that I haven't played much this season.
Okay. You didn't have a graphic, so I just put that up there for you. And DC does have a graphic, so I'm going to throw that up there. And I got a graphic. And since I'm not even playing Corey Seager, but I'm going to bet his home run prop. So Corey Seager will be the play of the day. Jose Abreu is the real play of the day, but that's the way to go. Like button on the way out for some good mojo. Summer 33% off your first payment of a weekly or monthly plan. So many sports still going on, football around the corner. And we do have some great best ball content. Megan, JSU, and others just killing it on, well, I don't know if they're killing it. They're just doing the best ball content. In all likelihood, they're going to win some money. So for Steve and DC, I'm Holden. Keep running pure.